So I'm going to talk about world building now, and I'm going to try to not mess up because I've messed up 25 billion times now. That is an exaggeration, but it feels like 25 billion times. Anyways, world building. So my story takes place in two main locations. One is called the Isle of Scorn, and the other one is called the Mazelands. And that's sort of a play on words of the mainlands, but it's covered in a nasty magical ice maze that moves around and never stays the same. So I called it the Mazelands. And the Mazelands are where the primary energy source comes from. There's a lot of storms on this world. There's not a lot of sunshine. So the only means of energy that the people can get a hold of is electricity from lightning. So they've set up these lightning lures on the Mazelands. And they go out and they gather the lightning and they bring it back to the main island. Um, Here's where things get tricky. Uh, the island is divided into four different boroughs. There is Dula, um, Anwen, and then there's Grindel and Selk. And each of these boroughs owns a school that sort of trains the next generation of the guild. In the guild, you can be either a medic, a sail guard, or a maze guard, a hunter, or a ranger. Most of the time, you come out of the guild school being a maze guard, a sail guard, a medic, or a ranger. Hunters are kind of developed later. They kind of have grown from the maze guard or one of the other classes. To be anything like a fisherman or someone who creates goods or a craftsman, you sort of go into an apprenticeship instead of going into the guild. This normally happens if the guild doesn't take interest in you as a kid and you have nowhere else to go. So kids who aren't very physically fit or they aren't perceived as being, strong enough tend to go for the jobs that don't require a lot of fighting. Because while the four guilds have a peace treaty on the island, the Mazelands are different. It's pretty much an all-out war. Each guild, even though they all share the same island, they're fighting for the energy that they get from the lightning lures. So the class that is called the Ranger is sort of like a hacker type of class. So basically they can go find lures and then change the access codes to match their guild. So they're kind of like a hacker slash rogue, I guess, but they're called Rangers. I don't know. I might change the name later, but for now, I'm calling them Rangers. Now, Maze Guards, they're sort of like little armies, and they fight amongst each other on the Mazelands. The Maze Guards will have these little battles over a collection of lures, and then once they won over that land, Rangers will come in and then change access. Whichever guild brings back the most energy, they can actually switch boroughs. The main borough that everyone wants is the one that's near this big dock, and I have it drawn out on my digital map, even though I haven't really finished everything yet. This is the borough everyone wants. It's prime real estate, and everyone wants to be there. On the island, they're not supposed to fight, but clearly a lot of sabotage goes on, and that's sort of where the hunters come in. Now, hunters can be tied to a guild, but they're sort of assassin-like, so they kind of just, whoever's paying the most gets their services. Hunters have the opportunity to earn the most personal wealth. However, hunters risk being killed by their own clan or just by anybody who really just hates hunters. Hunters tend to stay low and they tend to not brag that they're hunters. They also have another job where they go out and slay monsters or large creatures that are plaguing the Mazelands, or they go after leaders of other islands, which helps kind of keep them on the good side of the locals, which they also tend to not be fresh out of academies either, say in their early 20s or something. Being a hunter for a couple of years should be enough to have a comfortable lifestyle. As comfortable as you can get on the Isle of Scorn. Scorn is so built up and there's so many people on it that it's become kind of just a city of houses built on top of each other. And there's really nothing too nice about it. There are some fairly decent looking buildings. The schools would be some of the nicer buildings as well as the lighthouses that were built on there. But everything else is sort of built on top of each other, built in between nooks and crannies or in alleys. People are just kind of fighting to find space. Because there's not a lot of space, one of the ways to show your wealth is by actually owning a light. So anything like a lamp or just any sort of decorative light kind of shows that you're well off. So what do the sail guards do? Sail guards kind of protect the seas and they make sure that there's no one being smuggled to the Mazelands. So these small-time thieves try to sneak into the Mazelands and steal some energy for themselves, and these would be more individual thieves. They're not a part of a guild or anything like that. So that's what the sail guard is for, and they do tend to work together with the other guilds. However, sometimes if there's a lot of bad vibes between guilds, they will go after each other on the sea and kind of claim it was an accident. It wouldn't be too far off to blame a sunken ship on just crashing into a rock because of the weather. I guess the last class I'll go through is the medic. They basically just go to the little encampments for their own guilds and they make sure no one's getting sick. So I just need to focus on plot now. And I'm kind of skirting around that. I'm going to try to focus on that tonight and see how much I can get done if I have time after editing. Sleep's not that important. Just kidding. It is. I need it a lot. I can't finish or end videos well. So here is my dog. She's adorable and she's named after a video game character. I named her Sora, even though she's a girl dog. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Everything. It's a great name for your dog. What am I talking about? So one thing I forgot to mention is that I would really like feedback on this. I'm really sleep deprived most of the time, so a lot of ideas I have seem like a good idea at the time, and then I look back and I'm like, well, maybe not. So feedback is much appreciated. Another thing is, I'm really awkward with this, but with what happened in London, it's not something that we want to hear or talk about, but we can't forget and we have to take a look at it. And it sucks when it happens every single day that someone is taken away too soon. For the people affected by this attack in London, I'm really, really sorry for what you're going through right now. All right, guess that's it.